Would you dare to step onto trains where every meter of track hides an unpredictable risk? Here, mistakes offer no chance for correction, no way to turn back, and sometimes no second chance at all. Some routes were built more than a century ago and still operate almost unchanged, retaining their narrow, steep, and hazardous designs. A single thin rail separates the train from drops hundreds of meters deep. Other tracks weave through densely populated areas where every journey becomes a real test of precision and timing. And right now, the journey begins as we explore the most dangerous and spectacular railways on Earth. Bishwa Ijtema special train is a symbol of the most spectacular transport overload on Earth. From a distance, the train no longer looks like metal and instead resembles a living carpet woven from thousands of people crawling across the plain. A train designed to carry a maximum of about 1,000 people regularly ends up carrying more than 10,000 passengers on its roof and along its sides, far beyond global railway safety standards. When the doors are compressed so tightly that no gap remains, the only way to join the journey is to sit on the roof or cling to the windows and outer sides of the train. That forces passengers to face deadly danger from low-hanging, high-voltage lines, tree branches, and signal boards cutting across head level. FCAB is a vital rail corridor running through the Lithium Triangle, and it is also regarded as one of the loneliest routes in the world because some sections stretch for hundreds of miles with almost no signs of life. The line runs through the center of the Atacama Desert, the driest place on Earth, where some areas have never received rain, so the entire journey crosses a deep red surface that resembles Mars. Scientists have confirmed that in some areas along this railway, even bacteria struggle to survive in the soil. Along the FCAB line, dozens of old stations now stand completely abandoned, isolated among dust and red rock, with no settlements anywhere nearby for scores of miles. Even though it passes through visually striking terrain, this railway does not carry tourists or local passengers, and instead gives priority to chemicals, minerals, and heavy industrial freight while moving large volumes of lithium and copper day and night for the global battery and electric vehicle industries. Russia's Lake Burlinskoye salt train is known as the railway that suffers the most extreme corrosion. This train does not carry passengers, but pulls a special machine called the salt harvester to scrape crystallized salt from the bottom of the lake and load it directly into the rail cars. The entire rail system and the train wheels remain fully submerged under the lake bed, forcing the metal to stay in direct contact with salt water all year long. With salt content reaching about 26.7 ounces per gallon, Lake Burlinskoye creates a chemically corrosive environment that can destroy mechanical equipment in a short time. The railroad ties and rails become so heavily covered with salt deposits that they deform, turning the steel structures into stone-hard, natural salt sculptures that place enormous physical pressure on the train chassis. Even in that harsh environment, maintaining the old rail system and locomotives still produces tens of thousands of tons of salt each year. The Death Railway between Thailand and Myanmar is regarded as one of the railway projects with the highest death rates in modern history. According to many estimates, each mile of completed railway cost about 400 lives, creating a grim relationship between the line's length and the number of casualties. Under severe shortages of machinery, thousands of elephants were used to haul timber, steel, and other heavy materials through mud, rainforest, and dangerous mountain slopes. Steep terrain and unstable limestone geology caused many cliffside sections to face repeated landslide risk, especially during the rainy season. Most of the route on the Myanmar side has now been damaged or abandoned because of war and later historical disruption. However, the section from Nam Tok to Kanchanaburi in Thailand still operates and carries tourists every day along the same railway tied to a past of very high human loss. The railway through the Tian Shan Canyon in the Kuza section is often described as a route hanging by a thread, where loose sandstone blocks can collapse at any time. The geology here is mainly red sandstone with very weak cohesion, hard like stone when dry, but crumbly like a cracker when exposed to water or strong vibration. A single heavy rain, or the vibration from a diesel locomotive pulling dozens of coal cars, can be enough to trigger small rock falls along the canyon walls. The Konkan line does not carry light passenger trains, but mainly operates dedicated coal freight trains, with each train weighing thousands of tons. This route is also known as the most beautiful in China, but it opens for only about 4 to 5 months each year. Because train frequency is not very dense and is made up mostly of freight service, capturing the moment when a long train bends through the red cliffs requires patience and very precise timing from filmmakers. Train to the Clouds holds the record for the most challenging and highest altitude railway operation in South America. The structure stands at an elevation of about 13,845 feet above sea level, placing it among the highest railway bridges in the world. Because of this extreme altitude, trains crossing the bridge carry a car loaded with oxygen tanks together with medical staff to assist passengers affected by altitude sickness. The massive metal structure, weighing 1,764 tons, constantly shudders under the sweeping plateau gusts, making the heartbeat involuntarily race. Looking straight down into the 207 feet deep abyss through the empty window frame, you can distinctly feel the train carriage seemingly floating in mid-air. When the train stops here, many visitors step off for a brief ceremony, listen to the Argentine national anthem, and watch the national flag move in the open air to the Andes. Hanoi Train Street is a neighborhood with what is described as the narrowest railway safety corridor on Earth. At its tightest sections, the distance from the walls of residential houses to the rail track is only about 4.9 feet. When the train passes, the remaining gap between the side of the train and the house walls is only about 12 to 20 inches, just enough for an adult to stand pressed flat against the wall. Instead of fearing it, local residents turn the area into a distinctive coffee strip. And about 5 to 10 minutes before the train arrives, cafe owners blow a whistle, clear the tables and chairs, and ask customers to stand behind the safety line. Here, you can experience standing tight against the wall, and feel the strong wind and heat rising from beneath the train as it passes directly in front of your face. For railway safety reasons, authorities have repeatedly ordered the cafes here to close, but its strong appeal keeps the area returning in different forms. Maeklong is one of the places with the highest densities of street vendors operating directly on an active railway line. Here, there are no barriers, safety markings, or automatic warning systems separating people from the train, so the same dangerous traffic situation repeats about 8 times each day. To adapt to the train schedule, many stalls are fitted with small wheels under their bases, allowing sellers to push their goods back within just a few seconds before the train passes. As soon as the last car clears the market, the awnings open again almost at once in less than 30 seconds, and trading resumes directly on the tracks. This setting also creates clear risk for visitors, because many stand too close to the railway for photos and can easily trip over goods or be forced aside as the train enters. Unlike many other places, this market has existed since 1905, and local residents refused to move when the railway was later built through the trading area. Iron ore train is known as the most dangerous train in the world, and it is also one of the longest and heaviest trains still in operation. A typical train is about 1.6 miles long, with around 200 to 210 cars. So if you stand waiting for it to pass, you could spend an entire afternoon tea just to see the last car. What gives this train its unusual reputation is that local people and adventurous travelers are allowed to ride for free on top of the iron ore cars themselves. That journey stretches for about 437 miles across a dry desert, where the landscape is reduced to wind, heat, and dust. Strong desert winds carry iron ore dust that sticks to every part of your body throughout the trip. The iron ore here is a fine powder, so if you take this ride without protective goggles and a cheche head wrap, your eyes and lungs will be stained black after only a few hours. Gornergrat Railway in Switzerland is the highest open-air cog railway in Europe, pushing through a frozen high-altitude zone at 10,130 feet. At that elevation, the weather can shift from bright sun to blinding snowstorm within minutes, turning the track into a thin, red line across a vast frozen landscape. To climb more than 4,590 feet in only 5.6 miles, the train must tackle grades of up to 20%, and without the apt rack system, ordinary wheels would slip immediately. The train moves slowly, taking about 33 minutes to cover 5.6 miles, not only for safety, but also so passengers can take in the full 360-degree view without missing a moment. Even at extreme altitude and under severe snowstorms, this railway continues to operate year-round because of its locomotive design and specialized snow-clearing system. Dajue cliffside train is considered by many adventure travel sites to be one of the most frightening transportation experiences in Asia. This 8.17-mile railway has more than 1/3 of its length without solid ground beneath it, because the track is fixed in suspension along cliffs that rise at nearly 90 degrees at an elevation of about 3,937 feet. The terrain provides almost no escape space, with a sharp rock wall on one side and a deep drop on the other, so any operating error becomes highly dangerous. Dense fog and thick cloud banks can arrive at any moment, causing visibility to collapse quickly and making the ride feel like it is moving into empty space. Even in that setting, the train runs on 100% electric power and moves very smoothly. Gokteik Viaduct is the highest railway bridge in Myanmar and once held the world record when it was completed in the year 1900. The bridge stands about 335 feet high, roughly equal to a 30-story building, and crosses a deep gorge with tropical vegetation and flowing water below. At nearly 2,300 feet long, the structure appears as a steel line in midair and opens views down to steep rock walls and natural caves deep inside the ravine. The entire bridge was assembled mainly with rivets and bolts more than 120 years ago, showing a very high level of mechanical engineering for that period. To avoid excessive bending stress and vibration in the aging steel structure, trains must cross at an extremely slow speed, close to walking pace. Because the bridge has no high side barriers, The view from the train window removes all sight of track or support, making the carriage appear to float across a foggy gorge. Optics Valley Suspension Railway is the first commercial suspended railway in China. This line runs about 6.5 miles from Jufengshan Mountain to Longquanshan Mountain, passing through both modern urban districts and green ecological corridors. Even though the train hangs in the air, it operates very smoothly to reduce shaking for passengers, even when it reaches a top speed of about 37 miles per hour. The floor is made of transparent glass, forcing people inside to look directly into the open space below from heights of dozens of feet, which is especially uncomfortable for those who fear heights. Although the operating mechanism is highly complex, the entire train is controlled fully automatically by artificial intelligence, and there is no driver in the cabin. If the power system or the AI experiences a rare failure, passengers will remain suspended above the ground and can only be brought down by rescue teams using specialized equipment. Great Salt Lake Causeway is the longest railroad causeway over water in the world. It is a rare rail route, where one side of the train window shows blue-green water and the other shows a vivid pink-purple color. To keep trains stable over the muddy lake bed, engineers placed more than 36 million cubic meters of rock, sand, and gravel into the lake. In 1904, it began as a giant wooden trestle, but in 1959, it was fully replaced by a solid rock and earth causeway built for modern freight trains weighing thousands of tons. The causeway cut the route by 44 miles and removed the severe grades completely, saving millions of dollars in operating costs. More than a century later, freight trains stretching for miles still cross the lake every day, linking the flow of goods from the East Coast to the West Coast. Landwasser viaduct is the most prominent highlight on the Albula Railway, one of the most beautiful train routes on Earth. This bridge stands about 213 feet high and has 6 evenly spaced stone arches, fully faced with locally quarried limestone, so its original stone structure still remains after 122 years. Its most distinctive feature is the design without a buffer section, where the curved bridge runs straight into a vertical rock wall, and connects directly to the Landwasser tunnel, making the train seem to vanish into the mountain. With a curve radius of only about 328 feet, passengers can clearly see the cars lean at a height of about 213 feet, as if the front of the train were chasing its own tail. To maintain safety, trains cross this section at only about 6 to 9 miles per hour. That slow speed also creates a few seconds long enough for visitors to take photos or clearly feel the moment of crossing the bridge. Located in the Kaidam Basin of Qinghai Province, Chaka Salt Lake Railway is one of the most surreal railways in China at an elevation of about 10,170 feet above sea level. The defining feature of this place is a 24-inch narrow-gauge railway that runs straight into the middle of a vast salt lake. At first, the line was built only for the extraction and transport of pure salt. The nearly perfectly flat lake bed creates a rare visual effect because when the water rises slightly, the track appears to glide straight into open space, and the endless mirror effect blurs the boundary between the sky and the water. The reflective surface here looks beautiful, but this place is not safe. The very high salt concentration constantly corrodes metal and can damage electronic devices immediately if visitors accidentally drop them into the lake. Konkan Railway is the most legendary railway on Earth, where a train passes through a giant sea of milk. Dudzaga Falls stands 1,017 feet high and ranks among the tallest waterfalls in India, while the railway line cuts across the middle of the falls, making the train look as if it is flying through a giant cloud of milk. To keep trains moving safely through this sea of milk, Konkan Railway has reinforced the route with thousands of cubic meters of steel mesh, retaining walls and drainage systems along the mountain slopes. There is no other place in the world where passengers can open a train window and feel the spray of a giant waterfall hitting their face from such a close distance. During the rainy season, this railway often faces landslides and falling rocks. To maintain safety, Konkan Railway uses a separate monsoon timetable with train speeds slower than normal. The journey from Chennai to Rameswaram turns a train ride into something that feels like cutting across open water on a floating path above the sea. As the train crosses Pamban Bridge, passengers sit inside an unbroken band of blue, where the sky and the Indian Ocean nearly merge, with water visible on both sides. The bridge's most distinctive feature is the central Xersa span, which can open in two vertical halves and allows ships to pass directly through the middle of the railway route. Danger is constant because this area is frequently hit by severe cyclones, and winds here were once strong enough to blow an entire train into the sea in the disaster of 1964. Because of strong winds and salt-driven corrosion on the rails, trains are allowed to move at only about 6 to 9 miles per hour. That speed is slow enough for passengers to clearly feel the shaking of the century-old steel structure beneath their feet. Hotan-Ruoqiang Railway is the rail line with the longest section crossing a continuous sandstorm zone in the world. Out of its total length of about 513 miles, more than 329 miles, or about 65%, cuts straight through the center of this sandstorm region. This area is a heat basin where the sand surface can reach about 140 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, while powerful sandstorms can erode metal and erase visibility in seconds. The railway is also surrounded by moving dunes that rise dozens of feet high and can shift direction before pushing into anything in their path. To complete a closed loop around the Taklamakan Desert, the project includes an artificial ecosystem like a green Great Wall with 50 million trees irrigated automatically by AI. Riding this smooth train across giant viaducts and through dense dust storms creates a very rare experience on Earth. Not the Eiffel Tower or the Panama Canal, but the White Pass and Yukon route is the engineering wonder that makes you hold your breath. Born in 1898 during the Klondike Gold Rush, the line was completed at astonishing speed in 26 months through enormous granite cliffs. This is a rare journey that requires a passport because the train crosses the border between the United States and Canada right on the windy summit of the pass. The experience here is an intersection of fear and amazement. You will shiver when the train crawls across the Dead Horse Gulch steel bridge, suspended in mid-air with a bottomless abyss beneath the wheels. Right after that comes the nostalgic beauty of the precarious wooden trestle bridges pressed tightly against sheer mountain walls. Unlike a modern train, the open platform here lets you breathe the freezing air, feel the wind striking you, and sense the rock walls passing only a few inches from the side of the train. Mount Washington Cog Railway in the United States holds the title of the second steepest cog railway in the world. The most striking section of the line is Jacob's Ladder, where the track climbs a grade of up to 37.41% along the rocky mountainside. That incline creates a clear height difference inside a single car, with passengers in the front row sitting about 14 feet higher than those in the back row. This railway does not use ordinary friction-based wheels, but instead runs on a special cog system invented by Sylvester Marsh himself. When Marsh presented the idea, he was mocked so heavily that some people said getting permission to build a railway to the moon sounded more realistic than building one to the top of Mount Washington. The trip covers about 3 miles from the base to the summit in roughly 45 minutes, which is close to normal walking speed. Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad is one of the most dangerous narrow gauge rail lines built along a cliff edge in the world. Many parts of the route sit on artificial rock shelves, cut directly into vertical granite walls, where there are no barriers between the train and a drop of more than 394 feet. Although it appears fragile, the rock and bridge structure must still carry steam locomotives weighing up to about 113 tons, together with strong vibration from historic engines. When the train moves towards Silverton, passengers on the right side often cannot see any ground or rail below the window, only the deep drop and the Animas River below. The route also faces frequent rockfall danger because even a small falling stone can directly affect the narrow track gauge of about 36 inches. Despite this hazardous terrain, the line has remained in continuous operation since 1882. Nanjing Metro Line S9 is the longest rail bridge crossing a lake in East China, and it is also the most striking section of the entire line. The special bridge section across Dajue Lake alone stretches about 7.84 miles, accounting for nearly 25% of the total length of this metro line. To create that continuous railway across the water, the bridge is built with hundreds of piers driven directly into the bed of Dajue Lake. Beyond its length, Line S9 is also one of the fastest metro lines in Nanjing, with a maximum design speed of about 75 miles per hour. When the train runs at that speed over the lake, the view outside the window loses almost all detail and turns into a single, pale, white blur. For that reason, if there is a storm warning or strong wind alert, the line can be closed or forced to slow down suddenly to maintain safety. Renziqiao Railway Bridge is described as one of the 3 greatest engineering wonders in the world. The bridge stretches across the deep Sicha River Gorge with nearly 90-degree cliff walls on both sides, making it look like an iron web suspended between 2 enormous mountain gaps. The bridge has no support columns driven into the ground or riverbed because the entire steel mass, weighing hundreds of tons, is balanced only by 2 anchor abutments set deep into the rock faces at both ends, forming a structure shaped like the Chinese character for person. The lattice steel and rivet methods used here carry a strong mark of French industrial architecture from that period, similar to the Eiffel Tower. The whole bridge was assembled from steel members with more than 20,000 giant rivets, all hammered in by hand by workers suspended above the abyss. Even after 2 world wars and the weight of countless trains for more than 100 years, the bridge's original steel structure still stands firm and operates safely today. Beipanjiang Railway Bridge was known as the tallest railway bridge in the world for more than a decade. The bridge crosses a U-shaped gorge with rock walls that rise almost at a 90-degree angle, and it became the first railway structure on Earth to reach a height of about 902 feet, roughly equal to a 90-story building. In 2001, no railway structure anywhere in the world had reached that height. The bridge uses an inverted arch design with a main span of about 774 feet, and the entire arch is built from concrete-filled steel tubes to provide high load capacity. Even after more than 20 years of operation, the bridge remains in very good condition and has reduced mineral transport time from many days to only a few hours. Ribblehead Viaduct is not only a transport structure, but also a symbol of endurance and at times the harshness of Victorian engineering. Because it stands at high elevation and faces extremely strong wind gusts from the valley, the bridge was designed with a slight curve to adapt to those conditions. The bridge has a total of 24 arches, extends for about 1,312 feet, and rises about 105 feet above the valley floor. Each pier is driven about 26 feet down into solid rock to stabilize the entire structure. The project took nearly 5 years, from 1870 to 1874, and required about 1.5 million bricks to complete. To build it, about 2,300 workers had to live and work in temporary slum settlements, and hundreds died from labor accidents, although most deaths were caused by smallpox and dysentery. Pilatus Railway in Switzerland is the steepest cogwheel railway in the world, with a maximum grade of about 48% and a slope that comes close to the physical limit of this type of transport. At that angle, the train can operate safely only because of its special gear system, since any steeper incline would make it closer to an elevator than to a conventional railway line. The cars are designed with large, low-set windows, allowing passengers to look directly at the mountainside and clearly feel the extreme steepness of the route beneath them. The first trains on this line operated with steam power, and in 1937 the system was electrified while keeping its original and distinctive rack mechanism. The train cars are always painted bright red, creating a strong contrast with the grey rock and white snow of the surrounding mountains. Because of heavy snowfall and high avalanche risk, the railway operates only seasonally and usually opens from May to November each year. The Curitiba railway line was once called a death sentence, and leading European engineers refused to build it. Here, the track is not laid on a broad surface, but fixed tightly against a vertical rock wall, with only a very small distance between the wheels and the cliff edge, so any vibration increases the level of danger. During construction, more than 9,000 workers took part, and many died from work accidents, tunnel collapses, falls into ravines, and especially yellow fever outbreaks in the rainforest. Within a few hours, the train had to descend from more than 2,953 feet to near sea level, so any brake failure could produce extremely serious consequences. The route also passes through 14 granite tunnels and an area of constant heavy rain where landslides, falling rock, and narrow tunnel space remain direct hazards for both the train and its passengers. From the train window, ordinary ground almost disappears from view and is replaced again and again by cliff walls, tunnel mouths, and deep drops throughout the journey. Malleco Viaduct was once the tallest railway bridge on Earth, a structure not meant for the faint-hearted. The drop from the rails to the bottom of the gorge is about 335 feet, roughly the height of a 30-story building, so simply standing there creates strong psychological pressure. At a time without modern safety equipment, workers at that height relied only on narrow steel members and faced an intense mental test. To preserve its height record, engineers built 4 intermediate steel towers, and the tallest reached about 248 feet. The whole structure weighs 3,089,439 pounds, so lifting that mass of steel more than 300 feet above a deep gorge in 1890 was seen as an impossible engineering feat. Although trains no longer cross it as often today, the bridge still attracts photographers and urban exploration enthusiasts